What's going on, gents? We're back in the Warhammer 40K universe, and this time we're going to be looking at a fan animation called The Awakening by Gabriel Christtiane, I believe is how you pronounce his name. I apologize if I get it wrong. But this is something that was sent to me a while back, so it's taken me a while to get around to it. I apologize for that. But I've watched a little bit of it to kind of preview, get a general gist of what it is, and honestly it is gripping. And it actually has a lot to do, and it's an animation about I'd call it my second or third favorite Legion, or I guess you call them chapter, but I like to go by Legion since they're all descendants of the Legions, the Dark Angels. I'm not a huge fan of who we will see in this, Necrons. I think they're a little bit interesting as far as power scaling, I guess we'll say, but either way, I'm going to be breaking this down as just a lore fan. I've never played the tabletop at all. I call myself like a lore midwit, so if I get something wrong, please correct me in the comments. Completely fair game. Not going to be offended at all about that. And if there's something that I missed, please let me know as well, because this is one of the universes, especially Warhammer, where it's like, I don't know if anyone, I mean, this is like a Tolkien where you can basically get a PhD in the lore, and it's pretty much legitimate. But yeah, so we'll get into this. Like I said, I've seen maybe a third of this so far. There's also another video that was sent to me in addition to this, where it's I think called Intermezzo. We will watch it at the end. I don't want to ruin anything or whatever. I have not seen that at all. But I'm assuming it's meant to be viewed kind of in between some of these scenes, maybe. Maybe I'll try to watch this whole thing and see where that might fit in. But either way, if you're new, I'll kind of put up my quote-unquote credentials. But all you need to know about me is I have a really big fascination with tactics. I love lore, especially fantasy lore, sci-fi lore. I love engineering and all that kind of stuff as well. So obviously for me, sci-fi, especially this type of stuff where it's fantasy, combined with sci-fi is just my jam, dude. I love this shit. And yeah, I think the next animation we'll look at would be my actual favorite Legion, but for right now, this is probably my second favorite is these guys, so we'll see. And I did read the description of this video. He's basically a quote-unquote solo creator. He had a couple people help him with music and whatnot, but it's basically all made by one guy, and it's honestly crazy to see that this is for free. We can get to watch this for free on YouTube, so if you like what I say about this, or if you like it, if you've never seen it before, do me a favor and hop over there. Before you give me a like or whatever, go over there and give the original creator one, because he made this. I'm just a dude watching it with you guys. So anyway, let's get into it. And there's a little bit of a lore dump in the beginning, so maybe we'll see if we can learn something new.
It is the 41st millennium. 10,000 years ago, the Emperor of Mankind launched the Great Crusade, reconquering.
I think it's kind of funny, maybe I'll make a video one day about this, but it's interesting to see why people find it very cathartic, I guess would be the word, or appealing to kind of have this golden god Ubermensch figure like the Emperor, for me at least. I do a little bit of a series, I'm working on it, and when I have time, kind of leadership breakdowns of fictional characters. And it's honestly crazy how powerful a real leader, especially if they're charismatic. If you've ever seen someone who's very charismatic and who actually leads by example like the Emperor does, it is extremely powerful. And the more competent you are, the higher your standards are for a leader. So you can imagine these demigods and these space marines and these psychers and, you know, all these people. The Emperor of Mankind is literally this golden god to them. Not a surprise he becomes worshipped after he basically dies, or half dies. That is the appeal, especially for young men, is we strive to go do something greater than ourselves. We strive for brotherhood, this stuff that we desire. We desire, even if, especially as an American, we don't like bending the knee to people. If you met the Emperor, I mean, there's no other option, really. I always found it fascinating that the first time I always thought Warhammer 40K was cringe, up until about maybe 4 years ago when I started watching a couple of these looting videos. Started getting to the lore a little bit. I always thought the design of Space Marines were a little bit weird or whatever. Very cool. I love the universe. And of course, if the Emperor of Mankind ever became a real thing, his methods, I would say, are not as extreme as people think. If you know anything about human nature and anything about just looking around our world.
The galaxy in humanity's name and establishing his interstellar imperium. However, those old days of might and glory are long gone.
That's another pillar of really good lore, is that you have a lot of backstory
between the
before you even
Emperor
start
and
in
his
your
favorite
world.
son, Horus, bringing mankind and the galaxy itself to the brink of destruction. And although the Imperium emerged victorious in the end, the damage it suffered was irreparable. Ever since then, humanity has become stagnant, slowly withering and decaying towards an inevitable end.
And one of my favorite things, again, about the lore in general is just when you see depictions, especially before they had the Horus Heresy books, which I have not read, but I've listened to people kind of do the narration because there's a lot of really talented narrators and stuff that are fans of Warhammer 40K. But the coolest thing to me is just looking at the artwork. And so we had an artist who was, he was alive and doing this stuff before any of us were born. I think Warhammer is like maybe 40 years old, if not more. It's very old for people like me especially. But yeah, they had a guy named John Blanche who I love his art. He kind of set the general mood and vibe of this grimdark universe. But the art of the Horus Heresy, it shows something that I don't think a lot of people kind of could put into words very well, but it's basically biblical. You have this kind of like angels versus demons showdown that was just so catastrophic it literally destroyed the universe. It shook the heavens quite literally. And so that's another pillar of the lore, is just this crazy thing that happened beforehand that's just inconceivable by the 40K standards. So
regardless, its power remains considerable. Millions of worlds, trillions of citizens, vast armies and navies, all held together by war. In this dark and distant future, they're nothing but war. Billions of souls hold the line day after day, fighting against the Emperor's enemies, the forces of chaos and their dark gods, the many races of alien invaders, and humanity itself. Every day, millions fall for his eternal glory.
Not to mention the tens of thousands of psychers who were sacrificed to him every day, but the general scale of the galaxy, I'm always curious, and I don't know off the top of my head if there's like an actual number of worlds that there are in the Imperium. I always heard it was over 1 million, but yeah, I don't think anybody actually has given a real number, but yeah, just an astronomical size of all this. So of course it sets the stage for things like this, where you can have fictional stories made up by fans. And then, of course, after the events where Space Marines and all these other people are broken into smaller pieces, then yes, you can have fans come in and create their own lore, their own stories. So yeah, just a completely ripe setting, decades in the making for people to make stuff like this. I just love it.
One of the most powerful force in the Imperium is the legendary Adeptus Astartes, the Emperor's own Angels of Death. To the common populace of the Imperium, they are known as the Space Marines. Once humans, now demigods of the battlefield. Genetically altered, with added organs and implants, raised and trained to be warriors who know no fear, no
I'd be curious of when this
kind of fatigue.
Curious when this kind of fresco was made, because these are actually like the legions, not the chapters under the legions. It has 8 legions, which of course is Imperial canon. There used to be 20. Well, 2 of them are unspeakably absent from the canon in general. Nobody knows exactly what happened to them except for Malcador and the Emperor himself, and everyone else was mind wiped. But yeah, then you have, of course, the 18 legions after that, and then half of them go traitor. So yeah, I'd be curious as to when this kind of fresco in the universe was made. This
clad in majestic power armor, proudly bearing the markings of their chapters, they wield a deadly arsenal that even the darkest horrors lurking in the depths of the galaxy cannot stand against. 20 legions there once were. Out of these, small chapters gradually arose and disappeared. Among them, the direct descendant of the First Legion, the Dark Angels.
And so I would say I like these guys a lot because, first of all, I love knights, medieval stuff. I've always been a big fan of that even as a kid. So they're kind of medieval knight chivalry code of honor thing. I also love the secretiveness. And so these guys, basically, they're given kind of secret weapons from the Emperor himself. They obviously are keeping secrets because a lot of them are tricked into becoming basically traitors to the Empire, to the Imperial truth, I guess, but against the Emperor. And these guys are redeemable, which is interesting because you now have Lionel Johnson back into the universe. He's kind of gathering these fallen where they used to be kind of hunted down. He's kind of saved their souls, I guess, or redeemed them, which is interesting because I think it's explicitly stated in the canon as well in some of these books that even people as disgusting, or Primarchs as disgusting as like Mortarion or whatever, they can also be redeemed. So it'd be interesting to see if Lion is kind of the redeemer rather than just what he used to be during the 30K, during the Great Crusade and Horus Heresy, where he was basically the hot-headed wrecking ball just killing everybody. So it's kind of interesting to see how they've evolved that part at least a little bit. But in general, I like the colors. I love the color green. I love the night aesthetic. I love the fact that they have secret weapons and all this other stuff. They have Men of Iron. They have AI they can use. Very, very cool chapter to me. But again, they're not my favorite. Just up there.
Brave, proud, and unrelenting, they pursue their goals, whatever the cost may be. This is one of their stories.
So really quick, a hive world, of course, as everybody probably knows, like you see it on the planet, it's just a gigantic city, which there's a phobia of which I kind of have a little bit called agoraphobia. And so agoraphobia is basically a fear of living somewhere or being somewhere where it's very hard to escape. I mean, this is you see these kind of like third world cities and stuff. This is something that I greatly fear. Right now I live out in the kind of the suburbs, the country, which I've always loved. I can't stand living, like I guess New York City would be probably the worst case scenario, or one of these favelas in the third world. And so I would hate of everything everywhere to live in the Imperium. A hive world would probably be the worst place for me to live. So it's gonna be interesting to see what they have here, because again, I've seen a little bit of this. I know what happens in general, but yeah, it's like seeing these hive worlds, you rarely see these as far as fan animations, because a lot to animate, billions of people there. This guy is very good with his cinematic shots. It's really, really cool looking. And really quickly, so I might put up some pictures really quick. But if you know anything about astrophysics or anything like that, or astronomy, there's different types of stars. And so I think I would call this kind of a yellow dwarf, or maybe a red giant, depends on how big they are, but coloring looks like a little bit like a yellow dwarf, red dwarf is what I'm assuming. I'll put up pictures, you guys can kind of judge for yourself, but I'd be interested to see, because he said he took 4 years to make this animation. I'm curious how much research he did on like actual physics stuff. I have no idea. But yes, it's very cool sun, because our sun, if you've ever seen it like up close, it's literally white. So we only see the sun the way we do just because of our atmosphere, basically, and our eyes. But that looks more to me like a yellow or a red dwarf. And I'm assuming that's a battle barge. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah. Basically, the chapter is here, and they're going to be kicking some ass. These Thunderbirds are always interesting to me. So as far as aerodynamics go, I never thought they were super aerodynamic because they're very blocky, but maybe their propulsion systems are so powerful and so reliable, because another big thing with planes is when the engines go out, even on these giant airliners, 787s, 767s, whatever, you have the ability to glide basically to safety, but it feels like every time these are kind of hit or something. Of course, they're at war, so it's a little bit different, but they don't have the ability to glide that well. It looks like their aerodynamics are not very good. So it'd be interesting to see the trade-off. I don't know if the original designer, I think Thunderhawks have been around as long as I've been alive, basically, but yeah, they don't look very aerodynamic to me. It'd be interesting to see, since they're trying to basically make them space and in atmosphere vehicles, I don't think they have enough thrusters all over them. This looks like almost like a fortress monastery. And these guys are supposed to be the good guys. I just love the way they're animated all the time with their red eyes. It's funny because all the movement and everything, it reminds me very much of like somebody playing with toys, so I think it's very appropriate. As if you're playing with the models of the tabletop themselves. But something I love about the models that he made is the heraldry and everything, because the Dark Angels, of course, they are kind of like a little bit of a sneaky boys, but they like being a little bit pompous, a little bit, they love the heraldry. They are knights after all. Now, they are modeled after medieval knights, so they do have a little bit of color to them. So I've always loved the way that I love the way he's animated them here to show them. And you can easily tell who's in charge too. And of course, them being mysterious boys, they gotta have their hoods.
We are here, Tech Priest.
Ah, Captain Gabriel. My apologies. I have been running prognostics.
Got the little cherub up top.
10.5% earlier than expected.
Situation report. Are they truly awakening?
Indeed, Captain. The information leading to your arrival was not false. The energy spikes that have been disrupting our networks. Their typical frequencies pulsing through this world.
Really quickly too, I love the kind of Catholic symbology and everything of generally the Imperium, but I'm a huge sucker for stained glass. And so I went to a Catholic private school when I was in college, so out of the military, when I went to engineering school. I went to a small private Catholic college, but it was cool because it was a monk college. So literally, they didn't teach all the classes, but the monks taught several of the classes. You had to take at least a religious studies class with them and everything. I took maybe 3 classes with monks, but each one of them has their specialties. And so they're kind of like tech priests in their own kind of way. So they are religious, but they're very into, like, one of them was a computer programmer. So literally wearing monk robes, he would kind of like work with IT in the IT department. Very interesting to me. And then they would pick up these trades because, you know, they're not like us, where normal guys, where they're pursuing women. They do drink. Another kind of cool thing is I did have drinks when I graduated with one of the monks, a couple of them actually, at a bar, along with a couple professors. So, but either way, yeah, these are Catholic monks. Catholics definitely drink, but yeah, so some of them brew beer. A lot of them actually smoke cigarettes, which I thought was interesting, especially the older ones. One of my favorite ones, one of the monks, he was a very, very good stained glass, I guess, artisan. I don't know what that term was called, but he was an expert at staining glass. He made very beautiful stuff, because a lot of the new buildings, they would basically build the building with regular glass, and then later on he would take all the measurements and everything. He would stain glass that would be able to kind of retrofit into them to make them more like these cathedral. It's very, very cool. I don't want to dox myself, otherwise I would tell you which college, but very fascinating. I love stained glass, and so interesting to me that these are basically like manufactorums or whatever, but there's always that religious aspect. Or even on their warships, they'll have stained glass and frescoes and stuff like that. It's very interesting. One of my favorite parts of the Warhammer 40K universe.
World's crust. It is most assuredly an awakening.
How come no one noticed anything over all those past centuries? A Necron tomb right beneath their feet.
How come one does not notice a malignant tumor growing in their own flesh?
So I would assume, knowing the nature of the Imperium, they try not to look too deeply into things. And so since humans are kind of disposable for the most part to them, my assumption is that when they went on this world, they either didn't know that they even existed, the Necrons, but I think that might be a little bit of a lie or incorrect in general. Because the Necrons, I don't know this for sure in the lore or anything like that. I mean, you have to have some kind of standby power to keep whatever is keeping them alive. And if you don't know who the Necrons are, I think they'll explain it later. I don't remember getting to that part. They're basically the, big bads from beforehand. They were killing gods. They were star killers. They wield insane powers. And they're awakening slowly across the universe. And they're basically like space Egyptians, I guess you'd call them. Mummies. But yes, hyper advanced, hyper deadly. And some kind of energy signature should have been present. So my theory is that they either in this world didn't care, made the calculation of, well, they might awaken in a couple hundred years, but we'll get X amount of material and whatever off the planet before then, so it's worth it to let them all die. Or I don't think it's incompetence, but maybe it was just overlooked. Or they just assumed they would just have the Astartes come in and kill them when the time came. Your guess is as good as mine.
Right beneath their feet.
I don't know if we're going to get any answers to that.
One does not notice a malignant tumor.
I can't get over the little cherub he has on top of his fucking head.
Symptoms may occur long.
Imagine being a normal person and seeing someone from the Adeptus,
How
or
large
seeing
is
somebody
the
from the
dynasty?
Mechanicus for the first time.
Unknown at this point.
The other thing too is a lot of the time knowledge of Xenos, especially with Astartes or regular line troopers like myself would be, a lot of time they would get you killed, because if you know too much about the Xenos, well, you might be a sympathizer or something like that. So it's interesting to me that he's showing the Dark Angels as being someone who are very intimate. They know that there's dynasties of Necrons. They know exactly how they work. They know that they're awakening, that kind of stuff. They call in this kind of cleanup crew of Dark Angels. So they seem to be like, you think they'd want to call in somebody like the Death Watch or something to kill these people before they awaken, but we will see.
However, by the grace of the Omnissiah, we have arrived in time. Awakening protocols are long and complicated, and this one is still in its early stages. They are yet vulnerable, Captain.
Our sensors have picked up signs of battle during our descent. The Imperial might seems to be on the move.
Indeed. Local Astra Militarum units have assumed defensive positions, and the Aeronautica Imperialis has been carrying out preventive strikes in the enemy rear. However, several regions are already beyond our reach, and our forces are slowly losing more ground, despite their best efforts. We must stop this cancer in its tracks, or face the inevitable.
Just tell us where you need me and my brothers, priest. The Emperor will take care of the rest.
As I have said, Marine, we need to stop the growth from spreading.
So my prediction is they're going to send them in there to kill the leader, is basically what I'm assuming. Dismantle them so they can't awaken the rest of their forces, which makes sense.
A surgical cut, performed at the right place, at the right time.
And we are to be your scalpel.
Is there a better tool for this operation, other than the Emperor's own Angels of Death?
Again, I would assume the Death Watch would be a better
Astartes.
a better team for this, but Dark Angels are up there.
My calculations are complete.
Doesn't look very safe per the wiring fire codes I have at my work.
I am listening.
Awakenings come in several stages, as have been documented before. We find ourselves in a race against time. Reinforcements and pre-prepared defensive positions will be necessary. It will not be easy. But all is not yet lost. These pylons are the main means of transfer from the tombs to the surface. A quick and effective route, and an abominable tech heresy, of course. It might seem the pylons are easy targets, but their protective fields and firepower make them the very opposite of that. However,
I wonder if the cherubs, if his points is like help, just all he's there to do is just hold his little voice box. It's kind of
diverge into nodes, and I have found a particularly large one.
Deep underground, I assume.
Indeed, yet still reachable.
What will we gain from destroying it?
Time. The pylons will be weakened, making strikes against them 85 to 92% more effective. The enemy's progress will be hindered, and there is a 12.3% chance of starting a chain reaction, which could spread to other energy nodes. This could delay, or even halt the awakening protocols.
Very well. So, what is the...
I can't stop staring at the little cherub because his eyes are gouged out. He has blood coming down his eyes. He has blood coming down his eyes as if it happened somewhat recently. Ugh. So I'm going to assume, again, these scans are showing all these nodes and everything. How was this not spotted before? I mean, another theory I'm thinking of is maybe the Mechanicus knew they were there and they're just like, because they're famous, there's a whole game about this. And they basically wanted the technology, the tech heresy, they wanted it for themselves. I don't know.
Patch Priest.
The success probability is 22.2315%.
I have faced worse odds.
And this fact has been reflected in my calculations, Marine. I suggest a small strike team, composed of your very best. Are your men ready for such a task?
My brothers are sharper than a blade, Priest. I will give you the courtesy of not doubting your calculations. You may return the favor by not doubting me and my brothers.
As you wish. If possible, your team should include a brother who communes with machine
Yeah, Tech Marine.
His experience will be invaluable when activating and delivering the nuclear warhead.
I was going to think that would be a
One
very
of
valuable
your
thing to have there.
Thunderhawks would be the most effective mode of transportation.
It's kind of cool to get a whole
increase the
planning
successful
session of this.
insertion by 32%.
Very well.
The flight path crosses several locations with enemy forward positions. They know what they are protecting, Captain. Instruct your pilot to be prepared for evasive maneuvers, which he will be most assuredly fired upon. Several diversions will be created while you are en route.
Of course, the Astra Militarum gonna do
Success
that.
chance 35.8%. And now, the critical point, Captain. Your machine must pierce through the upper layers of the crust in order to gain access to the tomb containing the load. By his grace, the bedrock in this area has eroded over the past millennia, and underground water currents have created a cavernous network which can be navigated.
Daring.
Correction, Captain. Foolish. However, success is possible. 30.2%.
And what then, priest? When we reach the tomb?
Then it is up to you, Captain, and the Omnissiah's will. Find the node. Destroy it. By the cog. Who knows what awaits you in that forsaken place?
Revenge.
And a whole pile of Necrons. I'm loving the planning, though. That's pretty cool. Literally looks like a toy model. I love the way it looks. He did a really good job. You can tell he modeled that with a lot of, like a craftsman's finesse, I guess. So since you're facing Necrons, I would assume everybody has a firearm. Please, everybody have a bolt gun.
Signs of contact.
Yet. Can you catch something?
The space around us is enormous. My senses cannot reach its end. It is confusing. The tech priest was right. There is a web of strong energy currents here.
Enemies?
None in our vicinity, it seems.
Good. Focus on those currents and follow them to the node. Strike team to Thunderhawk. We move out. Set up here and hold this position. Emperor willing, we shall return soon.
Very well, Captain. The Emperor protects.
Please use a gun.
We move forward, brothers.
Not just the Warhammer. Yes, shields and guns are your friends. Yeah, so if you don't know, Necrons of course use like disintegration technology, so wear your sweater, wear many layers. Shields are a must. Again, I'm loving the way it looks like toys. I don't know why, it's very appealing to me. Looks really cool. And they're basically doing what's, not exactly, but it's very similar to what we call a diamond formation, which is what you do when you're trying to protect some kind of asset. And yeah, it's very similar. And you can imagine what this would have been like if you were a live Necron when they were Necron tier, because obviously their architecture hasn't changed that much. But yeah, they basically lived in ancient Egypt before ancient Egypt was a thing, so you can definitely tell where the inspiration came from. God damn, dude. I always love it in the way the tech priests and the Mechanicus technology is just completely abhorrent to normal people like us. I'm loving how he's not shying away from it.
It's dead in here. Almost like a tomb.
Huh. What are they anyway?
In my long duty, I've met them only once, but I noted scraps of those who seem to have more experience. These I have analyzed. With this, and the knowledge provided by the Adeptus Mechanicus, I can only say this. Beware, brothers. The Necrons are a dark, cursed race. Ancient. It is the abomination of the machine, in the face of the Omnissiah.
Yeah, so of course the Necrons used to be the Necron tier. They used to be alive. But they were, of course, cursed, living on a planet that kind of was cancerizing them, radiating them. They had terrible existence, so they made a deal with the devil which turned them into these, what you'll see later. Yeah, it's interesting to me that the Dark Angels, like I said, the captain seemed to know what was up. He apparently didn't brief his brothers, which is very strange to me, that he was like, hey, this is Awakening, it's a tomb, these are what we're going up against. That's something even regular guys like me would be given. It's kind of just a basic, or at least rundown of size, disposition, weapons, that kind of stuff. But very interesting. But of course, it's a very good excuse for them into this animation to talk while they move and show you the kind of grandiosity of this tomb world. So no big deal there.
Past of their empire is not exactly known to anyone.
Empire?
Oh yes, brother. Indications are that eons ago, the Necrons ruled vast swathes of our galaxy.
Sounds almost like a fairy tale to me. Can they be killed?
Everything can most likely be killed. Although their shells are preserved, despite millions of years in hibernation, they are not immortal.
And what awakens them?
I have no data on that answer.
Yeah, they basically, from my understanding, you basically kill their shell and they just kind of get revived into a new shell. Basically what's going on. So they're made of, I believe it's necrodermis or something like that. It's basically like living metal. So yeah, they get killed, they just get reborn into a new body that's built for them. That's my understanding.
And I thought you knew everything, Brother Glorial.
Let's say, almost everything.
I always love the banter between Space Marines as well. That looks very similar to the Astartes. If you guys remember the Astartes Warhammer 40K, I did a breakdown on that a little while ago, a few months ago. But that is like a very similar to that big sphere that we saw on the ship that they were kind of going after. I wonder if that's a coincidence. It's like a classic horror movie mistake. Don't touch it. You think you would know better.
Don't touch it.
What is it?
I don't know, but it's old. Ancient. And something tells me that it wants to be awakened. Copy that. Returning to formation.
Yeah, that seems very un-Space Marine-like to go off and try to touch something like that. Yeah, whenever they have the zoomed out shots, it's very similar to toys. Very cool. Yeah, it's a lot of Necrons.
I think I need a bigger bolter.
Very similar to Jaws. I'm gonna need a bigger boat.
I am picking up strange signals.
Where?
Everywhere. They keep appearing and disappearing all around us. It makes no sense. Should I focus on them?
No. Keep following the path to the Nexus. Stay.
So something I will say as a bit of a tactical breakdown. This isn't really going to be much of a tactical breakdown, at least not for a while. So military discipline means no matter what you're doing, you always have spacing, you always have 360-degree security, especially in a place like this where you don't know what the fuck's going on. It's a little bit excusable here because they're seeing this crazy thing, but you can see the guy in the back. He should be turned around. It doesn't have to be on his knee, but we would be on our knee. You need to be kind of making sure that nobody's around you, especially Necrons who can basically teleport. Yeah, they should be. I don't look to be on very high guard right now.
I am picking up strange signals.
Especially when he says this. That guy in the back should be turned around.
They keep appearing and disappearing all around us.
Could be excusable because they have very heightened
Should I
senses,
focus on them?
but
No. Keep following the path
Every
to the
millisecond
Nexus.
counts.
Stay vigilant, my brothers. The
Yeah,
enemy
yeah. See a little
is
bit of
watching.
360 security there.
Let them come. Contact!
Oh shit. Can't remember what they're called, but I think they're like basically scarabs. Little like worker bees. If you guys know what the name of them are, please let me know.
Over there.
Sector Beta 10.
Alpha 4.
For the Lion Brothers!
Tech Marines are so sick. All the little arms on their backs. Always been entertaining to me. Yeah, it's been the most unrealistic part so far is that he missed 3 shots. A Space Marine of all things missing shots is a pretty rare occurrence, I would imagine. And of course, Dark Angels are almost all exclusively insanely good swordsmen. They take after their Primarch in that. So it's cool to see them using power swords. Also very cool to see the captain using like a actually accurate looking size Warhammer that they would use back in the day.
Signals are fading. They are retreating.
Very well. We push forward. Move.
I like that shield. Huh.
What was that?
A bug. Just one. Wait. Another.
I feel like that guy's gonna die.
Run.
What?
There are always more. Move quickly.
Running from a few bugs. Are you out of your mind? We will crush them.
This is a fight we can't win. It's too late.
Oh shit. Yeah, I feel like you should run, and as soon as your Tech Marine says to run, I'd be running.
Move.
And why would they be destroying their own architecture?
Activating mobile defense platform.
To me, it just seems like a waste of ammo. Honestly, I'd just be sprinting at that point. Yeah, you're gonna have billions of these things.
The node is here.
This is a trap.
Apparently. But it may also be our salvation.
Yeah, I'm curious who closed the door for
Set up
them.
the warhead, brother. Guard the entrance. Strike team to Thunderhawk. Do you hear me? Strike team to Thunderhawk. Come in.
Thunderhawk to strike team. The box is all scrambled. What is your status, Captain?
We are sitting on several megatons of Imperial fury. Surrounded and unable to...
Let's look at the little prayer that they have there for the basically nuclear war.
Sitting on several megatons of Imperial...
Wrath of the mighty on Messiah upon thee, who oppose the immortal spirit of the machine. The flesh is weak, but Imperata Mechanica never fade. Glory to Mars. Okay, so a little miniature prayer for this giant nuclear bomb.
Imperial
I like
fury.
it.
Surrounded and unable to move.
Do you need reinforcements, Captain? I can send the brothers to aid you.
No. You will hold your position as ordered. I need you to relay a message to the cruiser.
Understood? I will try to circumvent the jamming. You may speak now.
Captain Remiel to the Lion's Claw. We are at the node. The secondary objective has been achieved. The primary objective is unreachable at this point. We are at an impasse. Stand by for further updates. Glory to the Lion. Remiel out.
I do not like this. I would rather face the enemy instead of blindly pressing a detonator.
Do not worry, brother. You will get your share of fighting before this is over.
It is ready, Captain.
I always kind of
But I
wondered
must
too.
confess,
I've been enjoying this very entertaining movie so far. I've always been kind of interesting to see if, because I don't have the deepest voice. A lot of other people don't have the deepest voice. Of course, you have like Abraham Lincoln, famously like a nasally voice. Every time the Astartes is portrayed, even the what they call the female Custodes lady, everyone has like a deep voice. It'd be kind of interesting to see any of these guys with a not deep voice. It'd be kind of funny to see, especially Captain or something like
Before
that.
this is over.
Or Primarch
ready,
with a squeaky
Captain.
voice.
but I must confess, I am puzzled. Logic dictates that destroying the node must be our primary objective. And yet, your words suggest that. Captain, I did not mean to.
It does not matter. The enemy has trapped us here, thinking we would not detonate the warhead while we are still here.
Negative, Captain. Available data suggests we have only encountered an automatic defense system, while the tomb itself is still
Makes
dormant.
sense.
The closing of the door was just an
So knowing the Dark Angels, the secretive, I guess, chapter at this point that they are, but the general Legion is known as being very secretive. It does make sense that this is only they have some other objective. From what I understand of most of the missions that the Astartes take on, it's basically somewhat voluntary. So they someone will request aid, and then somebody will answer them and say, we'll take your mission, basically. So that's what I'm pretty sure. The way, if it's not the same, if I'm incorrect, please let me know. But pretty sure that's the way it goes in most of these. Of course, you have, if the Emperor or whoever, the Custodes, or if somebody like the High Lords of Terror or something told them it's not, no longer voluntary. But yeah, I think as far as these kind of things, if you're kind of around the world, they have some kind of distress signal or something like that, they have the freedom or the, I guess, the authority to kind of choose and pick their mission. So I'm assuming they chose this for a reason. If this is their secondary, they probably have some other thing they want to get here.
Automatized process, not a deliberate intention to trap us. If I am not wrong, and I really am, I might be able to open it.
I'm curious too if there's some kind of chapter like the Black Templars or something like that. A Tech Marine, I'm assuming they're kind of like bordering on heresy anyway, because they're kind of in between being a Tech Priest and Astartes. But knowing, again, knowing this much knowledge, I think you see that a lot with the Blood Angels when there's another animation from Games Workshop itself, but basically one of the brothers goes to the Death Watch, he comes back, and so he knows a lot about all of the Xenos races that they face. And they're very suspicious of him because he just knows this stuff, which is hilarious, because he's obviously fighting and dying with them, but yet they're suspicious of him because he just happens to know their enemy very well. And of course, that's kind of a seeding from chaos, and maybe he'll join the Xenos, that kind of thing. But yeah, so it isn't without cause, but I'm curious what Black Templars think, or if they even have tech priests in their kind of milieu, I guess, or in their team, in their chapter. I don't know. Because I don't know the lore behind I say them, the Templars, the most, because to me they're the most zealous faction, basically. They hate the Xenos the most, they hate Chaos the most. So I'd be curious what their opinion is on Tech Marines, I guess. So if you had this guy over here kind of messing with Necron Tech successfully on his first try, I'm curious what they would think of that. And of course, you can just remove a crystal and it works. Similar to punching a computer screen, famously works on opening things.
Well, will it work?
Bless me, Holy Omnissiah. Bless me. Holy Omnissiah.
So something I'll say about their prayers, which is, everybody kind of thinks is something kind of stupid or something, I think. A lot of people think it's kind of over the top, these people praying as they kind of do maintenance on machines or whatever. That's not the worst idea, so kind of stick with me there. Of course, they have literally their machine spirits that exist in Warhammer 40K. It's not so much the case in our world, but I've always thought that kind of saying prayers or something, especially something that you say repeatedly thousands of times, that probably does put you in a very calm part of your mind or state of mind. Because one of my first jobs as an engineer, I had to design custom, I will call them vehicles, and then when they were installed or whatever, if there were issues, I had to go out there and fix them myself. And so a big part of that is it's very frustrating. People are talking to you, whatever, a lot of stuff going on. It can be very frustrating. So I could see that these kind of prayers, praising the Omnissiah, whatever, is probably very calming and soothing to them. Very cathartic when they finish it and actually works for them. So not completely out of the realm, of course. This is probably a little bit interesting. I'm curious if there's machine spirits, because Necrons are basically machine spirits at this point. So I'm curious if he would be praying to the Omnissiah, if the Necron kind of spirit, whatever is inside the machines. I'm curious if they can actually hear him praying. It'd be kind of interesting to think. I don't know.
This is incredible. The technology is ancient and yet incredible. Heresy. Be ready, my brothers.
Wait!
Heresy.
Are you inside? Inside their system?
Yes, Captain.
Ah, jeez, it's like
so cool.
messing him up.
No machine spirit.
Okay.
An endless sea of information. Every second is agony, Captain.
That is very interesting, because like I said before, I would assume Necrons, they kind of have a soul, not really. They're kind of soulless souls, I guess. Only the kind of like, I can't remember what they're called, but they're leaders. They're the only ones who have a personality or any kind of substance to their souls. Everyone else is these husks. So it does make sense they don't have a literal machine spirit, but I do find it interesting that he's saying that there is no machine spirit, so thus it's like this, it's very terrible, it's agony, that kind of thing. It's very cold and dark. I would assume if you could do what he's doing and interface yourself with a machine, it would be very similar to this. It'd be very cold. There's nothing in these machines in our world. So I would say it's very interesting to me that a machine spirit could be kind of comforting to a Tech Marine especially.
Lion's courage, brother. This information, what is it about?
Everything, Captain. They have been monitoring the planet and the surrounding void. Millennia of continuous data. The surface, the weather, the climate, the orbit, the warp anomalies.
That's it. Secure this data, brother. Download it.
What?
The data. We need it. It might be in...
Yeah, so I will say, I think that this particular chapter, these guys, they're one of the few that would actually do this. I think, of course, the tech priests and stuff, they would do this. But as far as the Marines themselves, it seems to me from all the betrayals and everything I've seen, most of them would not take this data. It seems like he said, heresy. So
valuable for...
What is it valuable for?
The Imperium.
Captain, that would be against every code and creed. I cannot.
That is an order, Tech Marine. I will take full responsibility. And these brothers are my witnesses. The data, Tech Marine. Secure and download every piece of information for the past 10,000 years.
Yeah, so it seems, like I was saying, literally against the law. Literally against every code and creed, as he's saying, but very Dark Angel. So this is why they're one of my favorite chapters. They, like I said, they have access from what we've seen to like Men of Iron, which of course are the ancient AI. They use AI once in a while. They have weapons that no other chapter or no other legion has because the Lion was that trusted. This captain is very Dark Angel-esque. So I'm loving the portrayal of him right now. Very cool.
Now.
And I'm curious if we're going to get the reason why he wants this information, rather than just blind curiosity. Oh shit. Again, that's kind of reminding me of the Astartes animation where the guy is kind of praying and kind of getting into with those big chaos orbs, and then he gets possessed. He's kind of like twitching, so. And since he's in the system, obviously. So I would assume that was their primary quote-unquote objective, is to get this information. This planet's probably more important to the Dark Angels than just assisting them in killing the Necrons. And I think they sped up the Awakening, it looks like. And something about the security of the site. Again, not a super crazy tactical breakdown, of course. If this were me, I don't know how many Marines they have. They have at least 2, and I'm assuming the pilot. I would have at least 1 guy, if not 2, away from the ship. Like, you need to not engage them right next to the ship. You need to know what's actually coming toward you. Little nitpick here, but it does show how many Marines are over there, I guess.
This was not my order, Gloriel.
It's not me. The system is reacting to my presence, surrounding me. The pressure, Captain.
They're probably seeing him as like we would a computer virus, basically, trying to get in there and download their data. So now they're actually probably awakening the full tomb, I'm assuming.
They are awakening.
Whoa. So I'm going to take a minute here and appreciate the fact, again, that there are fans who love Warhammer 40K so much that they're willing to make stuff like this for free. Look at the awakening that animation that he does for this. It's insanely cool. I have no idea if it's lore accurate, but it is really cool.
Protect Brother Gloriel while he is working.
I'm loving the swag that they have. So if I was fighting the Necrons, I'd probably be in cover. Most Xenos have weapons that are just insane. Especially when the weapons can literally disintegrate you, even if you're wearing armor. There you go, finally in cover. And I would assume that their own technology or their own buildings and stuff aren't going to get disintegrated by it, but I don't know. That's the last thing I would do, would be get in close quarters with them. But it seems to be working out pretty well for him. I also find that kind of interesting the way he's reloading. So he's basically right-handed reloading with his right. I don't know if that's just an animation thing or whatever. But obviously, anybody with a weapon, you'd want to always keep your right hand on there and reload with your left. But yeah, it might just be an animation thing. Also an interesting depiction of their weapons, because I always assumed if you were hit, it would just keep disintegrating your entire, basically, armor. So even if it hit your pinky, you'd have to cut off your pinky. Otherwise, it would just keep disintegrating your entire body. Okay, and I'm going to say, again, I am not a Necron expert at all, but I know there's different types, just like every other, you know, Xenos race. So yes, yeah, the basic foot soldiers, don't know what they're called at all. So I'm just sitting here enjoying this as a regular fan. And then yeah, you have this like a little assassins guy comes out. So yeah, I don't know any of these guys' names. Of course, you guys probably do, but yeah, this is where your Warhammer will come into play here. But I would assume these guys would be more sneaky. Just running right up on them. And again, Dark Angels are extremely good at close combat. They're up there with the Blood Angels for sure.
Kill the Xenos!
There we go.
As long as it takes, stand fast, never forget.
Something I think is the most cool and superhuman thing about any kind of military super soldier or whatever, but especially the Astartes, is that they don't have unlimited, but they have very good stamina. And so close quarters, I'd be curious how many of you guys have ever fought somebody for real or just sparred or wrestled especially, but any kind of normal person who'd be fighting close quarters like that, swinging a weapon, you maybe have at most 2 to 3 minutes going full bore, and you're fucking exhausted. So the fact that the Astartes, which is what makes them superhuman in addition to their senses, strength, whatever, is just their endurance. Your endurance as a soldier is probably the most important part of your physicality. So that's one of the things I always appreciate. Of course, animation, you don't have to put much effort into that. You just make them do the same thing over and over and over again. But yeah, you can tell they're not even out of breath fighting like this, which even using not close quarters weapons, just being in a squatting position shooting or something, you got 5 minutes. You have adrenaline dumping in your system, all this other stuff. Your wrists and your hand, everything is going to be very exhausted. So that's something that they don't you can't really show too well in these animations, but just imagining is really fun.
Stand fast, never forget.
So they're in almost like a formation there. I like it, even though I would be in would not be in formation, I'd be in cover. Ah, damn. Good thing it has multiple redundant organs. No, turn around. Knew it. Yeah, that's see that coming a mile away. I feel like stabbing the Astartes in the stomachs is not going to do it anyway, so. That was a pretty funny death. These guys are getting wrecked.
Can you still fight?
Only in death does duty end.
It's funny because it looks like they kind of just welded like a 30 caliber machine guns on his arms. Very interesting. And for having kind of old school yet high tech technology, downloading 10,000 years of data in, I mean, what's it been, like 4 or 5 minutes? Very cool. That was sick. That's what we wanted to see. He kind of like slapped him, slapped the dude away with his mechanical arm. Ping! Something slapped him.
Be ready. We're en route. Send a message to the Lions War. Primary objective achieved.
Yeah, so the primary objective was to get the data. That makes sense.
I repeat, primary objective achieved.
The only thing about this, I'm curious if the Necrons knew what they were doing, because I feel like you could just shoot the bomb and it would just disintegrate. You know what I mean? Without going off, but I don't know. Be worth a try, I guess, if you're a Necron. So with those arms just wrecking face, I'm surprised that more of the Astartes don't have them, because they're pretty sick. Assuming they're about to meet the big bad. Again, I don't know who these guys are, but I know they're fucking badass probably. They're blocking their way out. Oh shit. Okay. Something I'll say too, I feel like cutting an Astartes in half, the guy will also still be alive for quite a while, because you're not killing any of his hearts or anything like that. You basically get swatted around like a fly, which is kind of crazy. God damn. It's like surprisingly good action for being kind of blocky as they run. It is very funny. Didn't expect that. Weren't there 3 of them? I'm surprised they're letting him kind of fight one-on-one here. Because the Necrons, they kind of have honor, but not like crazy. Like they would just want to kill this dude. Oh, you only have 2 more. Okay, they were attacking the others. That makes more sense. Well, They got fucking wrecked, but at least they took him with them. Again, I feel like he would survive this.
Brother, can you hear me?
He needs an apothecary.
No! I need a weapon.
There you go.
It's just a flesh wound.
I can
It's just
try
an
cauterizing
organ
your
wound.
wounds.
Just help me stand up already.
We finally get to hear from the leader. Oh yeah. So he will have some personality, hopefully. I'm also kind of curious if they copied and downloaded the data or if they literally just stole it. Because this seems like a pretty severe response, but either way. I love that he has a different language, so of course they wouldn't speak the baseborn language of humans, you know, High Gothic I believe it's called, but yeah, all the official GW stuff, a lot of that when they had the Necrons in it, they literally are kind of speaking English for the most part, or Gothic I guess, but it's interesting to see this, but yeah, they do, most of them do see living beings as basically insects, which is interesting.
Brothers, get back to the Thunderhawk, now! I will hold them.
So, that is something where me, as someone who does leadership breakdowns, this is a captain. So he's basically in charge of an entire chapter, or not a chapter, but a company. Sorry, I apologize. But yeah, so he's basically in charge of a bunch of Marines. He's there with his most elite troops, and he's basically going to sacrifice himself to complete the mission. So absolutely an amazing leader so far from what we see, but he's also a great fighter, so he's competent. But this is what we like to see in these kind of things, especially with the Adeptus Astartes, is that they have great leaders, which this guy obviously is.
I am the Knight of Caliban. I am the wrath of the Emperor himself.
And you shall know no fear. Remy.
Interesting. Looks like some psyker shit. Oh, damn. These look like almost like Grey Knights. I think it's like the Death Company Terminators or whatever they're called. Yeah, so they're definitely Terminators, but yeah, so they basically can warp in or teleport in, which is really cool portrayal. So this data must be very important to the chapter. They're sending in Terminators to help them out. I love the way there's a million ways to say for the Emperor. Chain gun will do it. A chain gun bolter. So if I were the guys behind him, the regular guys, I would 100% just be running right now, so I don't know what he's doing. It's very rare, too, in Warhammer 40K animations that you see, like, Terminators, so it's pretty cool to see.
How is this possible?
The brother librarian felt an urgent need to help you, Captain Remiel. Do you still have the data?
I do. On my second cogitator. It seems it is indeed very important.
It is invaluable.
To the Imperium?
Yes, to the Imperium.
To the Dark Angels. That's what it sounds like. Yeah, so of course they're kind of doing their own thing. They're the Dark Angels, they can do whatever they want, I'm assuming. But yeah, so it's interesting because the librarian teleports them in to get pretty much just the data, so very interesting to me.
Get your team men back to the Thunderhawk. We will cover your move. Brothers of Deathwing, let's show
Yeah, the Deathwing Terminators.
the meaning of the fury of the fist.
Yeah, so I'm assuming the captain, I think his name was Remiel, is what they said. He probably got that primary objective from the chapter master, is what it sounds like. And to keep it a secret from the Mechanicus.
Initiate the countdown.
I'm also a bit surprised that in their own little Tomb World area that they couldn't just teleport to the Thunderhawk and take it out, the Necrons, but it is what it is, right?
T-minus 60 seconds.
Get us out of this tomb.
And again, how do you miss with like a laser? It's kind of hilarious. You're like a machine mummy and you're missing with a laser that literally moves at the speed of light. There's no drop, there's no leading required. Just hit him with a laser. And again, looks like a cute little toy. I fucking love it. I don't know, man. I got my own little taste, I guess.
It's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It literally looks like he made like a little miniature, a 3D miniature of a desert.
Success. Energy readings are changing.
Get me the Lion Claw.
So I'm assuming we're going to hear about what his mission is, or why they need the data. I'm going to assume that this is probably after the kind of the more of these rifts are being opened all around. So I'm assuming the chapter master. I don't think it'd be interesting because this was released, I think, a few years ago. Don't remember exactly when Lionel Johnson came back, but it would be interesting if the chapter master himself is like, "Hey, things are happening with the system. These warp rifts are opening up. We need to figure out a way to stop them." That kind of thing. So it'd be. I'm curious if we'll get an answer as to why exactly his primary objective was the data and not destroying the Necron Tomb World.
Remiel,
Brother Librarian, thank you for your help.
of course. You have obtained something very important, Remiel.
I hope so. Our brothers fell for it.
Our brothers fell for our redemption, and their glorious sacrifice will be remembered. I will personally place their names in our eternal halls.
Please, summon the inner circle, brother. This is another step in our path.
It really is, Remiel. Big step. Times are coming that will shake the Imperium and the galaxy itself. When we regain our honor and glory as the First Legion, I can feel it.
In that case, we must be prepared. Wait for my arrival at the Claw. But for now, I have unfinished business here.
Is that so? You never forget, brother.
Yes, and I never forgive. The fallen must repent, and my brothers will be avenged.
This is interesting, so I'm going to rewind it a little bit. I wanted to listen to that. I'm going to go back and see. He's talking about redemption and all this other stuff. From what I understand, he's not fallen. So fallen are the people, the part of the Dark Angels who actually turned against the Imperium. They're kind of tricked. I don't know exactly what you'd call it, but they basically were fighting for the for Horus, basically. Which not really for Horus, but against their own brothers, basically. So that is the big shame. That's the big secret of the Dark Angels. And the Inner Circle companions, from what I remember, this is just off the top of my head, I don't remember exactly. I'm going to probably get this wrong, so please correct me. But from what I remember of them, they're basically like an order within the order. So they're kind of like very elite warriors, more of a supernatural side of the Dark Angels, where they're kind of hunting down these fallen people and usually killing them. So Lion, as he returns, he's trying to redeem them as far as like literally raise them up. It doesn't really sound from his kind of what he's saying to the librarian that their mission is so much to kill them. So maybe it's just a saying that they have, a general saying, generic saying of redeeming the fallen. Maybe to them redeeming is killing them. I don't know.
Remiel.
Brother,
I'm gonna go through and see what they're saying.
Thank you for your help.
Of course. You have obtained something very important.
And again,
Remiel.
the data is
I
what's been
hope so.
happening in the system for the
Our
last
brothers
10,000
fell
years.
for it.
Our brothers fell for our redemption, and their glorious sacrifice will be remembered.
That's the part, is like, these guys are not fallen from what I'm understanding. So I think they're just kind of, it's the entire chapter, the entire legion is redeeming themselves or trying to redeem themselves for what happened with their brothers turning cloak, because they're supposed to be the most loyal of all the Space Marines, because their Primarch is the loyal son, who famously says loyalty is its own reward. Interesting verbiage
I
there.
will personally place their names in our eternal halls.
Please, summon the inner circle, brother. This is another step in our path.
It really is, Remiel. Big step. Times are coming that will shake the Imperium and the galaxy itself. When we regain our honor and glory as the First Legion.
And from what I'm understanding, that means basically all the Fallen are killed, or all the Fallen are taken, they're eradicated. No evidence of their partial betrayal is left, is what I'm assuming that is.
I can feel it.
And this is interesting because from what I understand, the Dark Angels chapter, like the chapter master, I believe it's Azrael. Yeah, so the chapter master's name is Azrael, and he literally did see the lion. So they were basically fighting this chaos incursion. They were basically fighting Demon Angron, and in comes Lionel Johnson with his forest walking ability, and he teleports himself and a bunch of other Fallen with him as kind of like his companions to fight Angron and the others. So he basically fights him one-on-one, banishes him, whatever. But I don't know, because I've never read the book. I don't know what happens after that. But I don't think Lionel Johnson is actually reunited with his chapter/legion. He's kind of using his time to kind of walk around, killing big bads and reuniting and redeeming, quite literally by raising up the Fallen to become full-fledged Astartes loyal to the Imperium again. So there might be a pretty big conflict brewing eventually when the Lion does reunite with his legion completely, or with his chapter especially. And these circle companions, who they're absolutely obsessed, they will sacrifice systems to kind of kill these fallen people, to hunt them down. So this will be interesting to see them kind of reunite. Again, very interesting conflicts, because the Lion is not who he used to be.
We must be prepared. Wait for my arrival at the Claw. But for now, I have unfinished business here.
Is that so? You never forget, brother.
Yes. And I never forgive. The fallen must repent.
There's unfinished
and
business.
My brothers will be avenged.
Yeah, I'm curious if it's unfinished business is the Necrons, or if there happens to be some fallen Dark Angels here. I'm assuming it's the Necrons, because it says his brothers need to be avenged. Yeah, okay, he's going after the Necrons. So I'm assuming he wants to kill that guy, yes. This literally looks like a tabletop game come to life, the way he's animating this. It's pretty perfect. And you have Titans and everything. Damn, dude. There's heavy bolters and everything. Something I'm going to ask, because I genuinely don't know. Every time I see them with bolters, they're always red. I'm pretty sure that's not the case with every chapter. Is there a reason why they're red? I don't really know. Yeah, if you guys know, let me know. Because I remember seeing bolters in different games and different media, different videos are presented as them not all being red. And so as the captain, I'm assuming his company is going to be here. This is his company's leading to battle against the Necron leader. Yeah, dude, that was sick. So thank you for the recommendation. You know who you are. You sent it to me. I don't think he has other videos. I think he takes a long time to make them. So yes, Gabriel, Christtiane, I apologize if I got your name wrong. Dude, you have a lot of talent. You are awesome. I don't know if it's a gift or a curse if I were to wish that Games Workshop hires you, because goddamn, dude, that is, you have some talent. So hopefully you stay by yourself and you become very successful. And yeah, I mean, this is awesome. And again, I love Dark Angels. I love that they always have kind of like another motivation going on. Honorable, but they have a really dark past. I love all that. I love their fighting style. Very good mix. They are basically the best focused Legion. You know, the reflection of their Primarch. They're almost the best in every single way. My favorite Legion, however, I will do a breakdown. The next video I do will be of my favorite Legion. Of course, not my favorite chapter, but if I were to make my own Legion or make my own chapter, it would 100% either be Dark Angels or the other one, which you'll see in the next video. So yeah, it was really entertaining. Video is not over yet, of course, as you see from the video length. We're going to do, he has a kind of intermixed thing, so I'll play the titles here while we go. So yeah, he did have a little bit of help. The music was, of course, really good. Served its purpose. Very good. I'm assuming he had a lot of voice actors. But yeah, it's very, very good. I'm assuming a couple of YouTubers. Yeah, it's weird for some reason for Warhammer 40K. There's like a wide variety of YouTubers and cast members and stuff. A lot of YouTubers, they're very good at voice acting. I'm not good at voice acting. I hate my voice, actually. So that's one of the worst things I hate about editing is listening to my own voice over again. I kind of hate it. It is what it is, though. Yeah. So, yeah, the Cryptech. Okay. Again, I'm not very good with the Necrons. I apologize for that. These are just like, they're all the mummy boys to me, you know. I haven't looked too much into their lore. I don't know very much about Xenos in general. Warhammer is just way too big for me to know all this stuff, in my opinion. But I only just got into this stuff. Yeah, you are a nerd, dude, but it's appreciated. But yeah, Warhammer is such a big universe. You have all these games, all these lore books. I think they're on like 11th edition or something like now of the lore. Like, how many novels are there? I mean, I might look it up. I think there's like over 200 probably. Something that might be interesting too is I do love reading. I have not read a Warhammer book before, so maybe I'll get into it eventually. But right now I'm kind of getting into kids' books because, yeah, I'm going to start reading to my kid here eventually. Very talented, and we will go through. He has one other video. It's kind of like an interlude, I guess. But we'll go through that right now. And so this is what he calls an intermezzo. I don't know what that is. I'm assuming it's like an intermission or something, but yeah, I have not seen this at all. This was also sent to me in addition to the first one, so throw them into one video. But yeah, let's not waste any time. Let's get into it. He has the foreword right here saying this is not official, of course. GW has a weird habit of kind of copyright striking and going crazy on fan animators and stuff, which is like insane. I would kill if I made something fictional, especially, that had this type of quality and passion that the Warhammer community does. They don't deserve it, dude. That looks almost like a medieval helmet. That's interesting. Like Warhammer Fantasy, not Warhammer 40K. So all these dead, destroyed Leman Russ tanks from what's probably the Astra Militarum. So Dark Angel's motorcycle. Loving it. And I feel like having a flaming ball of fire there. Interesting choice of aesthetic. Yeah, of course we have Captain Remiel again, so I'm assuming this is afterwards. Taking his revenge on the Necrons. I wonder if we're going to see him actually attack the Cryptek. We'll see. Very curious that he's by himself. So we have a Titan captured. Interesting. So I'm wondering if they're, it looks like it's like downloading data or something from them. Again, I feel like it is not very difficult to hit something with a literal, like, laser beam. It's kind of hilarious, which would be a very short animation if they just hit their marks. That was a front-wheel drive motorcycle. It is kind of hilarious to see one Dark Angel captain just destroying everybody with his motorcycle. Yeah, it seems to just make him angry. That's pretty funny. He uses the smoke to obscure them so he can get in there close. That's pretty awesome. Got his little thunder hammer too. It is kind of interesting that basically those type of warhammers were never used IRL because they're way too heavy. You see them almost exclusively in fantasy. And of course this sci-fi. This will be interesting. Then we get a one-on-one with the Cryptek. Or he's gonna puss out and run. Damn, dude. No honor at all. It's kind of interesting because I would wonder how the Titan got captured in the first place. If he just walked into a trap or if they actually attacked him and trapped him. I mean, he definitely gets the aura farming of the Astartes, but especially Dark Angel's correct. Along with the general swag. I was hoping this would be kind of the end, so he would actually kill him, or be killed himself, but maybe just leaving the door open a little bit to make future animations. gonna assume from his sign language he means destroy that mountain. Which is very possible for a Titan. Yeah, imagine being on a battlefield and you have that much firepower. It's pretty crazy to think about. Every ground soldier's best dream, I guess, is to have that at their disposal. Interesting. So it's definitely a Dark Angel symbol.
Revenge.
Okay. There's something I'm going to need from you guys. I am not a lore expert. What is this exactly? Obviously, it's some kind of symbology of some kind. I don't know exactly what it is. Of course, the center is the Dark Angels. But yes, I don't know what the coat of arms there is. So I'm assuming it's like a fallen type thing. I don't know.
Revenge.
Yeah, revenge. So there is no peace amongst the stars, and there's the last chapter before the end. The faithful who persevere through the abyss of time shall be blessed, for they will see his face in the actions of those he never forsook. And who said this? Apparently nobody. So yeah, overall, excellent animation, little thing at the end there. I'm gonna keep the ending pretty short, but of course, amazing. And while I'm sitting here, I'm gonna be making another video like this. And I think the next one, I'll actually make it more of a tactical breakdown. This was just kind of loving the animation. This guy is awesome, so I'm hoping to see more from him. I think he has other videos, and maybe I'll do those later. But I wanna do my favorite Legion next, so we'll see how it goes, guys. But if you made it this far, thank you very much. More suggestions, I just add them to my list. I'm literally going down a list I made for people who suggest them. I see your suggestion, add it to my watch later. And then if I take a little preview, if it seems appropriate, then I'll do it. So this channel will be guided by you guys in that regard. And you guys have been doing a great job so far. So thank you for everything and have a good one, guys. See you later. Cheers.